Objectives of the National Drug Policy. The National Drug Policy is a policy or a framework that directs on how drugs are being used in a particular healthcare system in a country. So in this discussion, we will be looking at the objectives of the National Drug Policy of our country. Do well to purchase this textbook, My Clinical Practice. It's a very good book for both clinicians and non-clinicians and all frontline healthcare workers. What are drugs? Drugs include any substance or mixture of substances manufactured, sold, or advertised for use in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any disease, disorder, or abnormal physical state, or the symptoms thereof in man or in animal, restoring, correcting, or modifying organic function in man or in animal, or used in disinfection or the control of vermins, such as snakes, insects, or pests, or even contraception, such as family planning, like the Depo-Provera injection. These are all known as drugs. So drugs in this context is broad because it includes any substance or mixture of substances that is manufactured, sold, or advertised for use in diagnosis, the key diagnosis, treatment, mitigation, or prevention of any disease or disorder. Also, that which is used in disinfection or in the control of pests, vermin, and or contraception. So these are all known as drugs. You know, some drugs are given for us to diagnose. Some drugs are supposed to make diagnosis that this is likely this condition. Okay, drugs are used for treatment of disease condition. Drugs are usually used to mitigate. Drugs are also used to prevent some certain disease occurrences. And so in this definition, it tries to cover everything that has to do with, or every processes that have to do with drug use in healthcare industry. Essential medicine. Essential medicine refers to medications that are necessary for addressing the majority of health needs of a population. The concept of essential medicine is primarily associated with the World Health Organization, because it was the World Health Organization that developed the first list known as WHO Model List of Essential Medicine. This list serves as a guide for countries, assisting those countries in determining the most effective medication required to meet the priority healthcare demands of their communities. Over time, a lot of drugs were produced and deployed into the healthcare system globally. But however, there are peculiarities. In a certain region of the world, some diseases are prevalent, while in a certain region, a certain disease is common. So, and being that the drugs are expensive and drugs can also be harmful, it becomes very necessary for a particular country, particular region, a particular community to actually have a list of drugs that was certified, that is, help them in diagnosis, help them in treatment, help them in prevention of diseases and disorders, both in man and animal. So that led to the concept of having a group of what? Drugs. And these groups of drugs must be available, affordable in the various forms at all levels of healthcare and affordable so that the people can make use of it and the drugs serve the purpose and not being in the store and expire. Because if a particular community do not have a list of drugs, you might deploy a drug there that maybe the condition is supposed to cure or help in prevention or in diagnosis is very rare. That drug will expire. And as such, the money that was used to purchase the drugs will be a waste. Because that's the essence of essential medicine. So essential medicines refers to medications that are necessary for addressing the majority of health needs of the population. At times, if a particular community don't have this list of drugs, they might order for drugs that are not nearly necessary for addressing the majority of health needs in their own community. That is why essential medicine is very, very important and key to healthcare delivery. Essential medicines are selected based on their public health relevance, efficacy, safety, and cost effectiveness. So these are what are considered in selection of these drugs. The first essential medicine list was developed in 1977 by the World Health Organization. And since then, the WHO has been updating this list. According to the WHO, this list of essential medicine is grouped into two. The core list, also known as medication that are considered essential for majority of healthcare needs. That is the one that has the major healthcare need of the people. And there's another list known as the complementary list. This complementary list contains medications that are important, but may not be necessary or essential for that healthcare system. So therefore, in a nutshell, essential medicine, from what we've discussed now, forms the backbone of healthcare because it provides us with the necessary treatment, prevention, and management of diseases. And also, it helps a particular community or a country to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal, particularly Goal 3, which says, or which aims to ensure healthy life and promote well-being for all at all ages. So if we deploy drugs that are not effective, when there is no drug, there are drugs, but the drugs are not essential. But if we deploy the drugs that are needed, such conditions will be managed appropriately. So that is how it contributes to that Sustainable Development Goal 3. That is how it contributes to that. Goals of the National Drug Policy. Like we said, a policy is a directive, a framework on how a certain activity of the government will have to follow. So the National Drug Policy is a national framework that talks about how drug use, drug manufacturing, drug distribution should be done in our country. And this is the goal of the National Drug Policy. What the National Drug Policy in Nigeria aims to achieve is one, to make available at all times to the Nigerian population an adequate supplies of drugs that are effective. Effective will mean here that is drugs that will cure the disease or reduce the symptom or alleviate the symptom. Drugs that are affordable in terms of cost. Drugs that are safe and of good quality. Yes, there are drugs, but most drugs may have an adverse side effect even after curing. So, but there are better options that will cure with lesser side effects. So that is why we consider all of this in making choices of essential drugs. So the goal one is to make available at all times to the Nigerian population adequate supplies of drugs that are effective, affordable, safe, and of good quality. The second goal is to ensure the rational use of such drugs so that the drugs will not be abused, either overdosed or underused. Third goal is to stimulate increased local production of essential drugs. That is, to enable a particular country or our own country to begin to produce our own drugs using our own locally available materials. That's the essential, that's the goals of the national drug policy. Now let's look at objectives. Objectives are like the different ways we can use in order to achieve our goals. So objectives of the national drug policy. One is to ensure efficient and effective drug management in the public and private sector. To ensure efficient and effective drug management in the public and private sectors. This particular objective goes in broader view to tell us about the a system that needs to be put in place in order to ensure that we don't waste the resources. And this has to do with the selection of drugs we need, the ordering methodology, the storing, and the issuing out of drugs, both in public, such as general hospitals, primary healthcare centers, and also in private sectors, such as the private hospitals, clinic. So to ensure efficient and effective drug management so that there will not lead to, the management process will not allow for wastage, where you now select the one that is not needed. No, at the end, the drug expires. No, or maybe when you have received the drug that is essential, the storing conditions are not in good or does not meet the minimum standard, the drug will now deteriorate. So this objective is to ensure efficient and effective drug management in the public and private sectors. The next objective of the national drug policy is to ensure access to safe, effective, affordable, and good quality drugs at all levels of healthcare on the basis of health needs. So this particular objective is clear. It aims to ensure that when you go to primary healthcare center and you're having headache or you're having fever, that paracetamol is there and you can pay for it because the form that is available is the form that you can pay, or the dosage form, and not coming in a dosage form that is very exorbitant or not being available at all. No. The objective is to ensure access to safe. The drug must be safe. That is, I have all scientific proven. It is effective, that it has been used over time and shown to be effective. Then it must be affordable and of good quality at all levels of healthcare on the basis of health needs. So that is the objective, the second objective of the national drug policy. The third objective of the national drug policy is to promote the rational use of drugs by prescribers, dispensers, and consumers. The rational use of drugs has to do with using the right drug, the right time, the right dosage form at affordable price, and backed with the right instructions to the patient. So it has to do with the prescribers, the doctors who prescribe drugs, or the community practitioners who prescribe based on a standing order, SOP. You have to follow the standard operating procedure on the standing orders that says, give paracetamol twice daily, you follow it that way. That particular standing orders was developed as part of mechanisms to ensure rational use of drugs, so that drugs are not used irrationally without a clinical base, without a clinical judgment, without evidence base. So this objective is to promote the rational use of drugs by prescribers, dispensers, those who give the drugs to the patients, and the consumers, who are the patients who actually use the drugs for their condition. Then the next objective of the national drug policy is to increase local drug manufacturing, like production, and promote export. This particular objective is clear about local production. And if you recall, it's one of the goals of the national drug policy. In order to encourage local drug manufacturing, production, and promote its export to other countries. By so doing, contribute to the Sustainable Development Goal 3 and also boost the economy of the country. The next objective is to ensure that all drugs in the national drug distribution system are safe, efficacious, effective, and of good quality. Most of the times, you find out that some drugs find their way to the market, especially in our own context here, where traditional medicines are not really being regulated as such. So most of them, they put fear in people, and people consume them at times, come down with more debilitating conditions. But the essence of this national drug policy is to prevent such, so that the drugs that they know that is circulating in the healthcare system are the ones that are safe, being proven scientifically, those that are efficacious, that's able to cure, and those that are effective and of good quality. The next objective is to strengthen administrative, legislative, and regulatory controls of the importation, manufacturing, procurement, storage, distribution, supply, sale, and use of drugs. The essence of this particular objective is to have a legal backup that will be in place to make sure that all drugs that are entering into the country pass through the regulatory process, through the NAFDAC, through the Standard Organization of Nigeria, and every other relevant authority before they go to circulation. And then to make sure that those that are being manufactured in Nigeria are not fake or counterfeit drugs, drugs that will harm the population. And also to ensure that the procurement process is of standard, so that the drug does not, for any reason, get destroyed or damaged in the drug procurement, storage, and distribution processes. The next objective is to promote research on herbal remedies and integrate those found to be safe and efficacious into the healthcare system. So this objective is clear: to promote research on herbal remedies and integrate those found to be safe and efficacious into the healthcare system. Another objective of the national drug policy is to promote pharmaceutical research and development of raw materials for the production, compounding, and formulation of pharmaceutical products, as well as operational research for effective implementation of the national drug policy. This particular objective is clear because we focus on research, because with research, new findings are gotten, and the ones we have are improved, so that we can produce drugs that are of standard, that are of quality, that meets the international regulation standard. The next objective is to enlist government commitment at all levels for the achievement of the goals and objectives of the national drug policy. To enlist government commitment at all levels for the achievement of the goals and objectives of the national drug policy. Thank you very much.